Welcome to another episode of Conversations for Research Rockstars. Surprise! Contrary to popular belief, many clients like slide deck style reports. In this Conversations episode, I'll be sharing two important reasons why many clients like slide style reports and insider tips for how to structure a slide style report, including 3 options for structuring qualitative research reports in a way that will show your clients that you understand their needs and aren't just generating a cookie cutter report. So let's jump in and make sure your next qual research report really shows your clients and colleagues that you are a research rock star. This conversation is an excerpt from the Research Rockstar eLearning course on writing qualitative research reports, available at training.researchrockstar.com. Now, we've all heard the phrase death by PowerPoint. Ouch. Now, a lot of people really dislike slide decks. Slide decks actually can be great. The challenge is that people don't always use careful decision-making when planning their slide deck. So the slide deck can end up feeling like a data dump. And that's definitely not the point. And frankly, also, a lot of clients really like slide decks. Why do clients like slide decks so much? It's not a very sexy reason, but what I often hear from clients is they like slide decks because it makes it easy for them to repurpose your report in their own deliverables. So if I'm the brand manager at an ice cream company and I just got this wonderful report that you put together for me, actually some of those parts of that report, I might be putting into a strategy presentation that I'm going to be presenting to the CMO next week. So with a slide style report, it's really easy for me to pick the parts of the report and pop it into my presentation. So it's not very sexy, but it's something I hear quite a lot, that one of the things that people love about slide deck reports is that they are easy to repurpose. So whether it's for repurposing or just the ability to read the results efficiently, we have to keep the reports very modular. If we keep our reports modular and have semi-decent slide design, people aren't going to compare this to the death by PowerPoint situation. They're going to appreciate the professionalism of your report. So we want the reports to be really modular. That's what's going to make it easier for people to use them and also to refer back to them later. And we also want to make it easy for them to find the key pieces of information. This is another common complaint I hear from clients, especially executives. They hate getting a research report and then feeling like they had to hunt through it to find that one answer to that one key objective. If we keep it modular, then we're less likely to run into those issues. So how do we keep a slide deck style report modular? Well, we have to provide multiple sections. You can't have a 20-page slide deck report and 18 pages are just one big section, right? That's just too much. That's 18 pages that haven't been given any introduction, where we're not giving sufficient cues to the reader about what's important, what's happening next. Typically, I aim for no more than 15 slides per section, but that would be really even in a much bigger report. Like if it's a 50-page report, I'm going to be looking to do no more than 15 slides per section. And honestly, usually it's better to have fewer. So if you can keep it more like to 5 to 7 slides per section, then you've got a higher chance that each of your subsections is on a really specific topic about a specific point, and that's going to help your reader. Within each subsection, there are important things that you can do, again, to help your reader. You could open each subsection with a little mini table of contents or teasers of key findings just from that subsection. All right, so I'm getting ready to write my report. I'm thinking about the structure. I know I want to divide it into logical subsections. What are my options? The most common option is to divide your report into subsections based on research objective. So if there was 2 or 3 primary research objectives, then you're going to have 2 or 3 sections for the report. So if we take for example, if we go back to our example of the ice cream brand, it's possible that I'm going to have, say, in a qualitative study to get feedback on some new ice cream packaging. I might have, one of my objectives might be to understand overall impressions of the packaging, reactions to the packaging. Another objective might be to specifically understand whether or not people value the environmentally friendly aspect of the packaging. Maybe it's got some particularly recyclable material in it, or it doesn't use any plastic wrap, et cetera. That could be a second objective. So each of those would be different sections. So I'd have my overall reaction, and then I'd have my deep dive specifically into this one topic that I was really interested in exploring. Now I've made it really easy, not only because my report is modular, but I've tied it back very precisely to the stated and documented project objectives. And that makes it easy for the client to perceive that your report is delivering on its promise. Oh, 8 weeks ago when we started this project, researcher Ricky said that we were going to be able to meet these 3 research objectives. Oh, look, in the report, I see that there's a section for each of those objectives, and I can see what the results are. So yes, you're spoon feeding them a bit, but it's not patronizing, it's just making their job easier. Sometimes we also divide the report up by geographic section. This will be important to those of you who do multinational research, but even just within one country, there can sometimes be geographical differences. For example, in my career, I've done a lot of work with large US companies that have regional vice presidents. And so sometimes I would have to write a report where there was a total section for the entire country, and then sections that were really diving into the results that were specific to the 5 different regions of the country. And that way, each of the regional vice presidents basically had their section, but could also compare themselves to other sections or the total as they wish. And finally, the third most common structure we see in qualitative research reports is by group or segment. So it's kind of like geography, really, because basically we're saying, okay, you've got all of your results from this project that we're going to summarize and analyze and synthesize for you, but we're also going to present them by segment. So for example, in a car rental study, you might say, oh, we did qualitative research with people who rent cars, and it was a mix of people who rent cars for vacation purposes and those who rent cars for business purposes. So we're going to have a total section, and then we're going to dive into the business results, and then we'll have a final section on the vacation travelers. Again, make it easy, divide it into chunks, make it easy for your reader to find what they want. Question: when should you report in order of question as it appeared in the discussion guide? So if you did in-depth interviews or focus groups, you probably had a discussion guide, maybe 15, 20, 25 questions. Why not just write a report where it goes question 1, results, question 2, results, question 3, results? Well, when we report that way, and by the way, this applies to survey research projects as well, when we are reporting just in order of how the questions appeared in a questionnaire or a discussion guide, we're probably not adequately addressing the objectives of the project. Because when we are designing a discussion guide, we sometimes have to think very carefully about the sequence of questions, right? So there's certain questions we can't ask right away because it could bias early responses. There's a lot of thought that goes into the sequence of the questions. I may have objective 1, understanding the environmentally correct perceptions of this particular type of packaging. You know, is this perceived as environmentally wise and good? And does it make me feel good about this brand? And if I'm tackling that as one of my objectives, it's very likely that in the discussion guide that all of the questions that relate to that topic are not adjacent to one another. Some of the questions that relate to that topic, it could be some of it's getting captured in questions 2 and 3, but the rest isn't being captured until questions 10 and 11. Well, if I'm reporting in order of question, you can see what the problem is. I'm missing that opportunity to weave those results together in a way that's going to add more value. I'm just robotically summarizing the results, and I'm not weaving them together. And so that's really not adding any value to the reader, right? You don't want your reader to be at slide 5 and say, oh, researcher Ricky is summarizing these results, interesting, and then gets to slide 15 and says, these results that researcher Ricky summarized seem to have to do with the earlier stuff, but the researcher's not making a connection here. It's a missed opportunity to add value for your client. We don't want them to have to do the hard work of finding what are the important recurring themes or patterns in the data. We're supposed to do it for them. Might they find additional ones? Absolutely, especially if you're working with clients who have deep subject matter expertise. They may actually add on their own analysis and synthesis. Fantastic. but we certainly, as the research professional, we are certainly expected to at least do the basics. So it's very rare to write a report literally in order of question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4. You've reached the end of another episode of Conversations for Research Rockstars video podcast. Visit us at researchrockstar.com for articles and for our free market research glossary. Please give us a like and subscribe so that more future research rock stars will find these episodes. Thanks.